Hey everyone, it's Manda Lee here. I am back today with another build for you guys. This build is a build in Brindleton Bay. It's inspired by the new Cats and Dogs pack that came out just a few weeks ago. And the build that we're doing today is actually a seafood restaurant. Like I call it the Seafood Shack because it kind of does just remind me of maybe it was built by somebody who happened to own a fishing boat and they just thought it would be fun to also have a seafood restaurant as a family. So it's definitely not fancy. It's not a chic restaurant by any means. It just feels really kind of like down to earth and casual and kind of just low key. So I was really happy with the way that this build turned out. It's definitely on the smaller side. It has, let me think, I think it has about 6 or 7 tables inside of it. And then, you know, just a little bar area. I utilized the new bar that came with Cats and Dogs, which is fun. And a lot of those new kind of like a little bit more nautical themed, I guess you could say, decor items, such as like the buoys on the wall hanging net type thing, and then also like the bar drinks inside of the barrels, which I thought were really cool as well. So here you can see me doing something really stupid with the roof. I don't know why I didn't just place it as a single roof piece, and I end up actually doing that because it was way less complicated, but for some reason I just started doing it this way and I was like, why is this looking so bad? So you'll see me, I think, like right now actually change it over to be a single roof piece because it just looks a lot more flush and just better overall. I don't know if you're able to do that without move objects on. That would be an interesting thing to find out because I pretty much always have move objects on when I am building. If for those of you who don't know, move objects on is a cheat that you can use that allows you to like intersect objects in ways that you wouldn't normally be able to if things were like snapping to the grid. So that is definitely one of the cheats that I use the most. It's super useful, but you know, there's a lot of cheats that I use. I've actually thought about doing a video on cheating and my favorite cheats to use and kind of like a few different tips and tricks that I have that I don't see people talk about that often. So let me know if that's something that you guys would be interested in seeing, and I will definitely make that video. So here you see me just fiddling around a little bit with the signage and what I wanted to do on the outside of the building. So I put the one little fish poster over kind of on the back side. And then I was hoping that there would be like a good seafood restaurant type sign, but there honestly wasn't a great one. There was one of like, I think it was like a crab that could have worked for sure, but it just wasn't appealing to kind of this really like rustic vibe I was going for, I guess you could say. It was a little more cutesy. So instead of putting a sign up there at the front, like was my original intention, I ended up just going with some of those buoys that I had talked about earlier. And those end up being really fun and cool, and so I was happy with how that turned out, and I sized them down a little bit to put them kind of right there on the sides of each door and then had the bigger one up on the top. So now I'm doing the windows. Again, I just kind of wanted it to feel like a really like casual, kind of like a barn almost, while still having that very like New England feel about it. So I did the roof in this way with kind of like, instead of it joining, which I've seen so much with this new pack come out, people join those two roof pieces. I really ended up liking the look of having it kind of separated out. And if you look at like barns, that's usually actually how it is. And it was so funny because I had been doing it the other way too in all my builds where it was joined, and I think that's like a very Hamptons feel to it, kind of like the more polished, posh, maybe upper class vibes. But I was actually driving, I went on a road trip for Thanksgiving, just like a short one, like about 4 hours away to the state next to mine, and we drove through like farm country a little bit and drove past a lot of barns, and I started noticing how that roof style was so common, and I loved it, and I thought it would be like really cool on one of these builds because it does have that little bit of New England vibe, but it feels a little bit less polished to me, which is perfect for a build like this where I don't necessarily want it to have that super polished look. So here you can just see me placing some clutter objects, those storage boxes, I guess you could call it. Again, like I said before, I pictured like a person owning a fisherman's boat and then just like maybe their wife or, you know, just somebody in their family was like, hey, why don't we just have a restaurant as well? So they opened this restaurant. So it's just like a very mom and pop type operation. So those storage boxes are maybe like what they bring the fish in on, or just different supplies, and they're just not too worried about like it being super upscale or fancy. And when we get into the interior, you'll also see that kind of apparent in a lot of ways, such as the decoration is very, I guess you could say chaotic would be the word I would use, in a fun way. It's not like so crazy, but I don't know if you guys have ever been to a restaurant, like the one that comes to mind right off the bat is Red Robin, where they have, and I don't know if they have that in countries besides the US, but I know it's like a chain restaurant that's popular in the United States, and it's like just like a burger and fry type of place, but the decorations in it are fun, and they're just like crazy, and it's like every square inch of the whole wall is covered with just like random paraphernalia, decorations, like sports stuff, just whatever they decide to put up there. So it's really fun, and I liked that vibe for this. Just picturing that maybe like it was just some person just said, hey, help me decorate, and they just maybe brought stuff from their house that they loved, or, you know, it was just ended up being like a very family type place. Just there, I talked through it, but you saw me struggling to place stairs. The reason I was struggling so much is because I was trying to figure out how to place them on a diagonal. I really wanted them to be diagonal. That was kind of how I pictured the layout in my mind. But apparently there are no diagonal stairs, which is just crazy. And the even crazier part is that I've never noticed after building for 3 years in The Sims. And I mean, I build a lot. That's probably one of the things that I do the most. So it's just funny that I never noticed that there weren't any diagonal stairs, because I was hoping to have the stairs like kind of back in that other little diagonal offshoot. But that didn't work out, so I kind of reconfigured the layout in my mind, and I end up being happy with it. So it was okay, but you know, it was unfortunate. And I just don't get why they don't have diagonal stairs. They have diagonal roof pieces, and you're able to place almost anything on a diagonal, but just stairs, for some reason, you cannot. So that is interesting, and a feature that I would definitely be interested in seeing them patch in, and I hope that they will do that. It just doesn't seem like it, and this is coming from a place of like having very limited development knowledge, so forgive me if I sound super ignorant, but just considering the fact that they already have the diagonal placement capabilities, I don't see why it would be difficult to just add it for the stairs. So anyways, get on that Sims team. No, I'm just kidding, but yeah, it was, I just feel like it would open a lot more doors of layout options, and stairs are always just a tough thing for me in particular. Like, I don't like having stairs being in like a super awkward and like abrupt place, like right at the front of the build, which tends to be where they end up going, because that's just kind of where they fit in. So having the diagonal option would just open a few more doors, I think. So at this point, I was still figuring out how I wanted to do the upstairs area and whether I wanted to have tables up there or not. I end up not putting tables up there, and I end up doing just tables down here, and then I end up doing upstairs is the bathroom and just like a little bit of a I guess break room, you could call it, employee room. There's like a desk with a computer, and then just like a little couch and a TV up there. So, and then here you can just see me fiddling around with the layout of the chairs. I was just trying to figure out a way that I could get it to work the best without having them be like on top of each other, and also making all the chairs usable. That's like the one downside I would say of move objects on, is that you end up placing stuff sometimes in a place where it's unusable for the Sims. So like it goes there because you cheated to allow it to go there, but the Sims can't get to it for whatever reason. In fact, like that bookcase that you see in the corner next to the staircase, that ends up being one that is in the way. I always play test all my builds before I upload them or anything, just because I do want to make sure that I, you know, that I'm not uploading something that's not usable. So when I play tested, I tested all the chairs, and I tested also just random stuff like the going up the stairs, for example. And turns out that little shelf is in the way, which is too bad because I loved how that looked in that space right there. So you can see I've gotten started on the decorations a little bit. I actually end up reworking this quite a bit in the end. So in the screenshots, and I actually didn't put it in the video because you already saw me do this part, and it was just not the most interesting part because I'm just kind of looking through objects and placing them one at a time, and it took me a while to find it out to be how exactly I wanted it to be. So but you will see in the end things have changed around quite a bit, but the same overall feel as far as just like very cluttered, kind of a little over the top, you might say, but a fun vibe for what we were going for. So at this point I've decided that I'm going to do the bathroom upstairs, so that's what I'm doing at this time, and there ends up being 2 toilets and then just like a little sink area, so it's not necessarily like separate men and women's bathrooms, but I don't usually do that in builds because I just find that to be a waste of space. The Sims don't care, so why should I care when I could use that space for something else? And then just that like little vanity area, and again, I'm just putting more decorations upstairs. I just wanted it to feel like, I know I've said this a few times, but just like very home style, like it's definitely not a corporate restaurant in any way. It was just done by like, maybe the fisherman who goes out, his wife had a dream of owning a restaurant, so he said, sure honey, here's this piece of land, go ahead and decorate it how you want it and we'll do a restaurant. So I love that, and I think that's fun. I've mentioned in the past how I always like to have a story behind my builds, otherwise they tend to be like very generic and they just kind of look the same. So that was kind of my story that I had in mind as I was building this. And here's the little chef's area, which is pretty self-explanatory. The one thing that I did like wonder about is there's no closed off door into the chef's area, and that has given me problems in the past where like Sims just really want to go back into that space, and it causes it to be like overcrowded, so the chef can't get to the station or the waiters can't get out or whatever, but I don't know why they love to be back in the chef's area, but that has been something that I've found. So if that is giving you problems, you could always just throw a wall in right before the chef's area and put a door that you lock for just employees. You can do that. You can set the door to lock for only employees. So you could do that if you're like the owner of the restaurant, or even if you're at the restaurant and it's just bothering you. You could always do that. Here I was just playing around a little bit and trying to decide what I was going to do with the rugs in this area, because it just felt very wooden with the wooden floors and the wooden tables and the wooden chairs. So I wanted to break it up a little bit, and I thought that these like woven rugs, I totally had one of these under my, like literally just like this, under my dining table growing up. So I like the feel of it. It feels just like very like home to me, I guess you could say. And it ends up looking really fun, I think, with the green and just fun toned, like kind of earthy toned rugs. I also love that light that came with cats and dogs. So of course I wanted to utilize that, and it's the perfect size to go over the bar. And then I end up using these, what are they, mason jar lights that came with, I believe, Parenthood. I'm trying to like see if I can see it tiny. I think it's Parenthood. And I think those are just really cool, and they fit with this vibe, I think, of just like a little bit country, a little bit East Coast feel to it. So I was really happy with how those lights end up looking. And here we are into the screenshots. So there's just a view of the exterior and another view from above. I love how the roof ends up looking, that farm barn style roof, and then the buoys in the front. So here you can see kind of the decorations. I've just fine-tuned them. I put some stuff on the table. Here's the office upstairs. And this is just another really pretty exterior view with great lighting that I loved. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that quick build. If you did, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I upload Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I would love to have you join me. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will speak to you soon.